Hello, thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I'm David Pendergrass, and today we're starting something kind of special. I've got two very, very special people, experts really in the field. My brother, Steven Pendergrass, who got his degree from Steven Spielberg. He's interned at, I can't even think because I'm trying to take a joke. No, my brother Steven, I'm excited. No, really, Steven, what was your degree in? Film media?
Yes, undergrad was radio, television, and film, and then graduate program was in journalism.
In journalism.
Please don't hate me for that.
Don't hate. That's right. That's right. He's the reason why the news is horrible. Now, Steven, it really helped me appreciate and understand movies a lot more. And thanks to him, I could never enjoy them because I have to dissect it all the time. And no, they really are good. And I really have appreciated. My brother and I wrote a screenplay that will probably never see the light of day, but that was really fun. And we also have another person on the line. His name is Mark Alberts. I just met him. We've never met before, and my brother said I have a friend that he's lonely. And sorry, the joke's already started. Mark is a good friend. Anyway, Mark also likes movies, and we're glad to have Mark and Steven on Glimpse of the Kingdom today. And we were thinking about doing some things when it comes what to do to be relevant and so forth. But one thing that we all have in common is we love movies. We love movies for a long, long time, and we thought, man, why don't we start with a couple movies and make some theological reflections, or also just sometimes just some fun reflections about it. I thought this would be kind of fun. And the movie we're going to chat about today is The Book of Eli. Book of Eli, is that right?
Yes. Book of Eli with Denzel Washington in it.
That's right.
And who was that girl that was in there? Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus. That's it.
Miley Cyrus. Believe it or not, I get the two mixed up.
And so Steven just saw it. You just saw Book of Eli, right?
Yes. Yes, yeah. Watched it last night.
What did you think?
I thought it was interesting. It was definitely thought-provoking. If you have strong opinions about religion, obviously I'm a Christian. I thought it was good. Aside from that, I think it was good. I have to admit, the genre is not really one of my favorites, which is basically the post-apocalypse universe, and I've never been a really big fan. However, the movie was really well done. It had some really nice things about it. The cinematography was really great. Don Burgess, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I looked it up. He did, Forrest Gump, Terminator 3, and on and on and on. There's a long list of really cool stuff he's done. So they had a lot of talented people, obviously Gary Oldman and Denzel Washington. So there was a lot of cool things going on, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not a family movie. You're not going to gather the family around with little kids and your grandparents and a bowl of popcorn and watch. There's some pretty heavy stuff in it, but overall it was good. Yeah.
Mark, what did you like about it?
I liked a couple things about it. It really brought, if you kind of bring into the history about how people pass things on by word of mouth back in the day. That's how the original Old Testament got written, at least the first 5 books, as far as I understand it. It was passed on through the family. As the boy became a man, they had to memorize these things. So it was kind of along those lines, interesting to me on that. And, I'm colorblind, but I like the way that they played on the shadows in there, because it's heavily black and white. And
well, actually, it is. The whole movie is very desaturated. It's
and but it brings a lot of sharpness to it with the way that they did certain things. When he pulls the blade out of his back and out of his pack in the back and whatnot, the way they line the characters up and whatnot. But I don't know what the technical terms of it is, but it's very aesthetic to me. So.
Yeah. Apocalyptic. Yeah, that's not my favorite genre either, too, Steve. I'm the same way. And it's interesting just to just to reflect on it. It's interesting in American culture now, the term apocalyptic is used as an adjective to describe those genres that are after a cataclysmic war, World War III, 4, 5, whatever it is. And just to make a stark distinction, in the biblical world and scholarship, we never use it that way. Apocalyptic means that which has to, well, there's a technical definition, but it does mean at the end. Hold on. Sometimes I got to pause because my dog might start barking. Apocalyptic has to do with end time.
I thought you had a really good idea.
No,
really good insight all the same.
Apocalypse means revealed. That's why we use the word revelation. It really is in Greek, the apocalypse of John. And it has to do with a particular genre of end times. And there's more to it. But anyway, that's what it is. But it means genuine end times, like Judgment Day end times. So today when it means end times, it doesn't mean what it, of course, meant back then. But anyway, that apocalyptic genre is also not my favorite. And, I thought it was interesting. I looked up the screenplay to this. I used a section of this screenplay of the movie in my book that I wrote. And that's not just a cheap plug to my book. It really is. I was really excited to do this movie because I love the movie, the theme of it. The violence and stuff isn't my favorite. But at the very top of the screenplay, it has a quote from Emil Cioran. I'm assuming that's how you spell it, Cioran. He was a Romanian philosopher. And he says a civilization is not destroyed until its gods are destroyed. I thought that was really interesting it's one way to look at it. And I was thinking about this deep, if someone hasn't seen the movie yet, well, then you shouldn't probably hear this podcast. We're going to, huge spoilers. But of course, the word Eli is actually pronounced Eli. It's Hebrew. Eli means my God. El means God or great powerful being. And when you put an I to it, it means my. So Eli means my God. And my favorite part of the entire movie is actually not the big twist at the end. It's actually the part where he's talking to Solara. And it's the scene, if you remember, he has the leather cover Bible, the book, and he's around the fireplace. And I'll read this part because I'm looking at the screenplay now. This is my favorite part. It's my favorite part because I thought, when I remember the first time even I saw it, I thought it was so well done to articulate, which is sometime ineffable, and that is the Christian experience. And when people ask me, why do you know Christianity is true? The bottom level is that I've had religious experiences. That doesn't convince people, doesn't make people very happy when you're an atheist because they might drive them crazy. Nevertheless, it's true. It's kind of like asking, how do you know you're married and your wife exists? Because I experience her all the time. And there was this one scene in the movie I thought captured that so well. And if I may, this is the part, Eli says, he's talking about the book, and he says, it's the last one. There are no other books like this. All the others are gone, destroyed by the war or in the burnings that came after. This is the only one that survived until now, the last one anywhere. And Solara says, well, how can you know that? So then Solara says, how can you know that? And Eli says, I just know. And then he says, for a long while after it happened, I just wandered on the road like most everybody else. There were still a lot of people around back then in the beginning. I didn't really know what I should do or where I was going. I was just moving from place to place, trying to stay alive. And then one day, I heard this voice. I don't know how to explain it. It's like it was coming from inside me. But I could hear it clear as day, clear as I can hear you talking to me now. Solara said, what did it say? Eli said, it led me to this place. I don't really know where. And I found this book buried deep under some rubble. No way. No one has ever going to find it if they didn't know exactly where to look. Solara said, but you know because the voice told you. Eli said, that's right. And the voice told me to carry the book west. He says, it told me that a path would be laid out before me, that it'd be led to a place where this book would be safe. It told me I'd be protected against anyone or anything that tried to stand in my way, if only I would have faith. That was 25 years ago, and I've been walking ever since. And then Solara's skeptical. Because a voice you heard in your head told you to? Eli says, I'm not crazy. I didn't imagine. I know what I heard. And he goes on from there. Actually, that's the actual screenplay. But I think what he says is a little different. The movie says, I know what I heard. I'm not crazy. Something like that. And I thought, anyway, that was it. That was the big moment of the whole movie. I thought, man, I love the way he said that. Of course, when Denzel acts it so well, he's very serious when he says, I'm not crazy. I know what I heard. Like, whether you believe it or not, I don't care.
Yeah, and of course, ultimately, it worked. His mission. And even if you haven't seen the movie, like you said, we're definitely talking about some spoilers here. First of all, I didn't think that the twist at the end was that big of a twist. That's one of the things I kept hearing about it, is it had this really big twist at the end. I don't know that it was a twist like, say, The Sixth Sense or anything.
Right, yeah.
So even if you haven't seen it yet, I would say watch it. But, it did work. The voice that he heard was the truth because it ultimately worked.
And I thought that another part of that movie was really significant is when I forget the guy that that William Hurt played, whatever his name was, but whenever he was trying to tell them why the book was so important, and he was saying because you can influence so many people with this. And of course, his intent was malicious for bad. He just wanted to control people, and Denzel Eli, he wanted the book for good because it can influence people for good. So it had the duality there,
Right. Yeah, I love the fact. Yeah, you can control whole societies by it.
Yep.
I also really appreciate the fact that Eli, in the voice, he said how this voice told him and said, "I'm going to make it. I'll protect you. Basically, you'll go to where it's safe." But yet he gets shot.
Yeah.
I remember thinking how true that is, even in the Christian life. In the New Testament, we see that God's going to be with us. It doesn't mean for 1 second they're not going to be really hurt. I think about what the Apostle Paul had to endure when he was shipwrecked several times and betrayed and stoned and beaten in the synagogues, and on and on and on. And he said, I have constant worry, anxiety for my churches every day. And yet he had this strong sense that until my mission is finished, God will make sure I don't die. And eventually, of course, he did die because of his faith. But the sense of, I'll be in there. But I'm not ultimately protected from all pain between now and then. That was a good reminder.
No, and I think that's important for people to understand, too. It's just, people have asked me, well, Mark, you're a Christian and you've had all these things happen to you. Isn't God supposed to protect you? I said, yeah, but it's not from that. It's from God protects me, in my opinion, from eternal damnation because I chose Jesus. And I don't have to worry anymore about death. I don't have to worry anymore about where I'm going to spend the rest of my life here. This is just temporary. Whatever happens to me here, it's totally temporary. So a gunshot wound or whatever else, I'm either going to heal from it or I'm not. When I die, that's where everything is important to me, what I'm protected from.
Yep.
Yep. And one of the things I thought was interesting, too, is that the directors, now at the time the movie was being promoted, so this was, 6 years ago probably, the brothers were being interviewed. At least one, at least at that time, was an atheist. I don't know what the religious views were of the other brother, but they did grow up in a Christian household. They said it wasn't very, they didn't necessarily sit around and hold hands and pray like a nice, wholesome family. It was more everybody there was a Christian. And I forget I believe it was in Romania, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, they didn't have a particular axe to grind with them, by making the movie. And the writer, forget the last name is Witta, I believe. He's sort of ambivalent, not ambivalent. It's not very clear what his leanings are, but he based on his Twitter or his tweets, he does seem to not take religion all that seriously. A lot of atheist jokes and things like that, which is okay. That's your thing. But I have to admit, if they are anti-religious or, have an axe to grind, they did a pretty good job of restraining themselves. I think it was a pretty fair analysis of what the Bible can be like. You could, in theory, use it to control people in a sense. It's been done before. And on the other hand, it can do a lot of really good things. But in fact, one of there was another part I was going to bring up. The one, I don't know if issue is the right word. One thing that just kind of put me off a little bit was the fact this great war was, wow. The parrot got out.
Sorry.
The Great War was caused by religion. And that's not to say religion can't be the cause of a war to end all wars. However, based on all the research I've done, religion is not the number one cause of war or deaths from war. I don't know what you guys have heard. I wanted to read this really quickly. This is actually an article written by a rabbi for I think it was the Huffington Post or something. But anyway, I ended up looking up the book and things about it, and all this seems legit. He says in their recently published book, The Encyclopedia of Wars, which is something, by the way, like a 1,500-page, 3-volume set about the history of wars. Anyway, in this volume, authors Charles Phillips and Alan Axelrod document the history of recorded warfare. And from their list of 1,763 wars, only 123 have been classified to involve a religious cause, accounting for less than 7% of all wars and less than 2% of all people killed in warfare. While, for example, it's estimated that approximately 1 to 3 million people were tragically killed in the Crusades and perhaps 3,000 in the Inquisition. But nearly 35 million soldiers and civilians died in World War I alone. So I wondered what you guys thought about why do so many people still think that religion is the number one cause of war rather than, just greed, maybe. That's what it seems like to me.
What you think, Mark?
Well, my opinion on that, first of all, people focus in on any leverage that they can get to make Christianity seem less than authentic. If you're so Christian, why did y'all go through and kill all those people during, XXX? Why is there so many wars in the Bible where the Lord tells them to wipe people out? And they speak from just that small little snapshot there. So I think it's just their leverage that they utilize. I don't know how else to explain it on there.
Sort of cherry picking the evidence in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's the new atheists, the Richard Dawkins and all them, and Christopher Hitchens and so forth, when they talk so much about religion causing all the wars. I think the rhetorical flourish, of course, is just to get their point across. And they were asked several years ago again, where did all this all start for you? For them, it was 9/11. For them, it was Richard Dawkins said it many times, that 9/11 was the time when he said, okay, I've had enough. And because of that, and maybe, and of course, it's simply false. It is simply false that religion causes all the wars. Maybe, of course, the rhetorical flourish has some truth in it. If you look at modern day wars, maybe if you look at, because we don't have the Great War anymore and things like that, then maybe that's the issue. But nevertheless, it is false. They don't cause all the wars.
I see what you're saying. It seems like a lot of fighting today is done over religion, Islam and,
That stuff drives me crazy. When I was thinking about the Book of Eli, one of the things I thought about early on not too early on because I didn't know about the Bible issue, but when I thought about the violence, and then of course when it struck me who he's supposed to be kind of a prophet figure to some degree, but not really. The more of a person defends it, and that's of course a big distinction because the prophet, and biblically speaking, has a message from God, and Eli doesn't have a message from God. He's just a traveler who's defending something. But I was thinking, if that were Jesus, and he knew it was time to go take a book somewhere, I can't fathom him with what's that big sword called? What do you?
Oh yeah,
a big
like a really big machete.
A machete, Bowie knife, machete, and then goes around swinging, chopping up the Romans and stuff. That's a big deal. That's one of the kind of stuff that I very much understand. I really do. I really, really do. If I were an atheist or a skeptic, trying to give religion a chance and so forth, and you heard about people blowing up buildings, and you heard this, or you found people to be racist and so forth, I understand the frustration, because it's kind of like saying every mathematician I've ever met is a punk, therefore I won't study math. I understand the emotional draw, but I do not understand the logical draw of that at all, because we want to focus on the people who are the founders. That's all that matters. And when we look at Jesus, who would never ever support such a thing, and look at someone like Muhammad, who was well prized for being a fighter. His very first battle, from what I've read, the research I've done years ago, was decimating a caravan. So when you look at things like that, Joseph Smith fought wars and on. I guess it'd be difficult for me. You can easily say, and I won't go too much long on this because I know we're talking about the Book of Eli, but you can easily say, yeah, but David, if God really did command him to go kill all the armies and kill the caravan, that's what you do. But nevertheless, that's not the Jesus we meet. The Jesus we meet, who represents the God we understand, I think is true. It doesn't do that. And I'm glad it doesn't. I'm glad it doesn't say pick up your machete.
Absolutely. And I hear this argument a lot. Who was it? Christopher Hitchens was saying something along the lines of, if God is not the cause of war, then why is it that Hitler said something about the Creator? And why is it that so-and-so said something about God? It's like, really? That's your argument?
Right, that's right.
Hey, guys, I'm a billionaire. Also, I led the Human Genome Project. Let's see, what else? You can say, anybody can say
anything.
But
he used to say that all the time about Hitler. He used to argue all on Hitler was a Catholic and was very religious and all that stuff. Yeah, he used to say all the time.
He doesn't say that Hitler he's not stopping at he said it. He's saying it as if Hitler really was a Catholic.
Right.
This is a good Christian man's Christian. And that's this is what
and he hated Mother Teresa too, who was a low life, and yeah.
It's really good as rhetorical skills, I guess.
Yeah.
But like you said, logically, it really doesn't make sense. I mean, anybody that's being fair and honest knows that this, cutting off people's hands and blowing people up and all that has nothing to do with what Jesus taught. Nothing at all. And just because people said, hey, I'm a Christian that did it, that doesn't mean they were being Christian. Period.
Right. Period. Mark, didn't you grow up Catholic?
Yeah, I did grow up Catholic. I did. I got to the 9th grade, and that's when we go through confirmation, and I decided it wasn't for me. So I didn't get confirmed.
Is that because Hitler was a Catholic or what?
I think it really had to do with that, and Marilyn Monroe wasn't. I'm not really sure.
Really? No. Of course, he wasn't a Catholic. Just a joke for my podcast. He wasn't. Mark was, but not Hitler. Unless Mark.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you said till 9th grade?
Yeah, 9th grade we go through confirmation.
Oh, that's right. Is it that late? 9th grade?
I believe it is 9th grade. I think it's somewhere around there.
Are you making up stories right now, Mark?
I just know I didn't go through it, which made my mom, who is a devout Catholic.
Oh man.
Goes to church literally every day. I mean, she hits the 7:00 mass before she goes to work.
How about that?
When I was a kid too. So.
Does she still want you to marry a Catholic girl?
No. My mom shouldn't care who I marry now.
So just heard him get married. Well, enough on the book of Eli. Anything else, guys?
I did want to just kind of, since it's about a book, I wanted to ask you, both of y'all are married, got kids, and are there any books besides the Bible that you would want to carry with you through your life so that you could pass those books on to your kids? Like for me, I have books that if I ever do get blessed with children, I will definitely pass on to them. Max Lucado writes a book, You Are Special. I'd like the Velveteen Rabbit. And one of my favorite is Frog and Toad All Year. So is there anything that you would like to carry through your life to pass on to your kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, you can go first if you want.
Actually, you go first because I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Because you don't read? I'm just kidding.
No, but I'm going to do a quick Google search for the most sophisticated. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, that's a good question. I get asked it a good bit, of course, in my profession. And the first book is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I think outside the Bible, it's the most inspiring text I've ever read. So I would certainly read Mere Christianity. I want to pass that on to anybody who will read it. And anything by Lewis, but if I had to choose just one book, it'd be Mere Christianity. And anything in that Christian theological genre, I would pick several things by him. And, well, there's a bunch. I could go on for a long time if you want about the biblical stuff. And the other second book I'd recommend, you might say third outside the Bible, but it's different, and that's the kind of Christian psychological, and that would be Changes That Heal. Changes That Heal by Henry Cloud. Anyway, Changes That Heal changed my life. It has several things in it, but it's a very, very good book and by a Christian psychologist. But yeah, those two books, and that, again, there's so many other I'd read. But Steve, have a chance to Google yet?
Yeah, actually, I did Google this to make sure I remembered the author's name. I'm still looking. I think it's James Sire. Yes, The Universe Next Door.
Is that like Joel Osteen's Make Every Day a Friday?
Yes, exactly. Exactly like
Yeah, no.
this is I've got a lot of jokes, but I'll never mind. The Universe Next Door was really helpful to me. I definitely recommend people checking it out. But it's a book about worldviews. I think it's like the 7 basic worldviews. I think it was John Lennox that recommended it. I read this probably a year ago. But it's really good. He talks about naturalism versus theism versus nihilism versus pantheism and several others. But it really forces you to look at your own worldview. Like, okay, what do I believe exactly? And sure enough, by the time you finish reading the book, not only can you better articulate what you believe, but you can also see where, especially if you're like me and you grew up a Christian, went off to college, left the faith for a while, and then came back, you can look back at your journey and say, oh, I was one of those at that time. Oh, I was one of those at that time. And what's really cool is as you meet people that are in one of those camps, you have a much better idea of how to communicate with them. So I think it's a really good way to, reading this book is a really good way to help you understand why you might be having certain doubts about, say, the false dichotomy between science and belief in God and all that. But it really does help. It helps you make sense of things. But obviously, the Bible would be the number one. And then after that, I do like Green Eggs and Ham. That's yeah.
Good.
But no, really, Universe Next Door, highly recommend it. Very good.
Sweet. Well, thanks, guys. This is really good. I appreciate your time. And most of your comments were somewhat cogent and helpful. The ones that were not, I'm going to delete from the podcast and
Thank you.
Quickly as I can. I appreciate it. It's good stuff. Hey, Mark, where are you from?
I'm from, I grew up in Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
That's the Ocean Springs. Okay, I knew it was Mississippi, but I couldn't. Yeah. I can spot us.
Yeah.
The accent, I can.
Oh, real quick. Oh, we didn't, Mark didn't say what book he would recommend.
Oh, I did actually.
He did.
I was really serious. Like I was thinking of younger kids like Max Lucado and yours.
Oh, that's right. You did say
Velveteen Rabbit.
He was Googling. He wasn't listening.
Older generations.
That's right.
If you're getting up into the teens, there's this one I've read that's Forbidden Knowledge. I forget who wrote it, but it's actually a really, really good book. So,
yeah, I'm sorry. I zoned out. I was Googling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Thanks a lot, guys. Until next time, God bless you. See you next time.
All right, Dave. Take it easy.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you'll listen more. If you want more, go to davidpendergrass.com. There are tabs at the top that let you have access to all the podcasts I've recorded, to sermons I've done, books I've written. They're all there at davidpendergrass.com. You can also check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/glimpse of the kingdom. facebook.com/glimpse of the kingdom. And also look at my Twitter feed at glimpse the kingdom or at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass. There's tons of ways reached out. I hope you will. Send me your questions, send me your comments. If you'd like to support the ministries of Glimpse of the Kingdom, you can also find ways to give online on davidpendergrass.com. If you'd like for me to come and do some consulting, check out my website, davidpendergrassconsulting.com, and I'll be happy to come out and speak to your organization and help and train any way I can. God bless you. See you online.